Welcome to the Numerical Tarot, a new tarot paradigm, an alternative to tradition, an axial system of archetypal crystallography, a trans-culturally anthropomorphized life-biased binary influence calculator, a wisdom system and archetype enhancer with harmony of interpretation throughout. The content of all the videos in this series are excerpts, edits and brief summaries from the eBooks All Things Are Numbers and All Things Are Patterns, links below. For a more complete explanation of each idea, additional reading might be helpful. Hopefully the basic ideas come across enough to pique your interest in trying this alternative approach to tarot. Now that we have established the parameters of a theoretical model of existence, and labeled the parts with 9 numbers, let's continue the development of this wisdom system by using that number line of 9 numbers to create the underlying structure of a tarot deck. To begin, let's acknowledge that as a number line is used to represent 4 circles in a point, the number line becomes, in actuality, 8 numbers, with a middle. 4 numbers on one side of the axis of symmetry, 4 on the other side, and 1 to represent the point in the middle or center. In this way, the sides of a number line become binary pairs in a world ruled by opposites. Is the universe indeed binary? I can't prove that it is, and I know there are a lot of people out there who feel that any functional use of opposites is in fact an abomination against a preferred goal of transcending all notions of opposites to achieve spiritual bliss within a sanctuary of oneness. But in my highly speculative mind, working toward the task of inventing a tarot-like wisdom system that is all about functionality, the use of opposites is a simple enough pattern with which to start the creation of any wisdom system designed to describe the nature of our existence within this universe. Our life. Outside of unity, yin and yang, day and night, wax on, wax off. Examples of binary relationships are endless. Looking even deeper than that, the idea of finding binary relationships within other binary relationships makes our universe into something fractal, with endlessly self-similar repetitions of overlapping pairs, acknowledging the economy of design that nature is known for. Sorting out the fractal nature of our universe can be an interesting challenge. Our systematic analysis of a binary universe hinges upon our ability to sort out the resulting subdivisions of opposites into finer and finer descriptions of this one simple idea. Thus, in the numerical tarot deck, we see a design with an underlying structure to its form, derived from common sense thought, relative to how we live our lives in a binary universe. In this way, the numerical tarot deck actually uses this idea of subdivisions of our binary nature to create the various arcana of the deck. In other words, by taking a single number line and dividing it a select number of times, we create the 6 different number lines of the numerical tarot deck. And in doing so, we observe the crossed influence of multiple divisions of binary influence within the deck's form, creating a matrix of overlapping binary influences which, when carefully sorted out, will bring supreme clarity to each card. In previous videos, we created a theoretical model of existence with 2 steps of common sense reasoning. We labeled that model with a line of numbers. This gave us our first number line. Now, we will apply the ideas of living in a binary universe to expand that number line further by dividing it into multiple copies of itself. So, let's imagine a blank generic number line, ready to be divided into multiple binary cuts. In order to create the unique structure of the numerical tarot, our first division will cut this plain number line into 2 separate number lines, each diametrically opposite to the other. This, then, will create for us the 2 lines of the numerical tarot's major icons. By cutting our first number line horizontally, we create the positive or ameliorate, white, and negative or deteriorate, black, sides of the numerical tarot's major icons. Like day and night, they are as opposite as can be. Note: there is no good or bad bias at this point. Good and bad are of course subjective terms. I use my own personal, subjective sense of good and bad in the numerical tarot deck design only to create the kind of contrast I need to make clear the pattern of interdependence that evolves. So please understand, that positive does not necessarily mean good. There is good positive and bad positive. Likewise with the negative, it too does not necessarily mean bad. There is good negative and bad negative. The numerical tarot deck describes them all. The idea is that one half of the numerical tarot deck augments and adds, while the other reduces and subtracts. Augmenting is not always good, and reducing is not always bad. This system forces us to see all sides to every coin, or card. It is indeed an important way of thinking. Cutting our universe in two is a good start. But right now, these opposites are static. In order to make our universe more dynamic, we need to divide what we have again, this time vertically. At the middle, with the neutral 5 acting like a hinge, or bookbinding, our glue between the 4 numbers left and 4 numbers right, like so. By cutting our number line a second time into active and passive, we create a pattern of extremes and betweens. As these abstract divisions are meant to represent the number lines of a tarot deck, we can see how the two sides of the majors, the positive and negative, are no longer static. They now fit together like a yin-yang symbol, giving the deck they represent the same kind of dynamic structure. In this case, the difference between each side could be compared to that of dividing daytime, the ameliorate side, into morning versus afternoon, and nighttime, the deteriorate side, into evening and night. These are the first 2 cuts of 3 that will be made. After only 2 cuts, we have established the positive and negative aspects of the majors as well as the equidistant qualities of each of its 2 number line halves. Having done this much, we can now stop for a moment to observe an important pattern in this formation. In the first cut of this 3-cut process, the binary split was made horizontally to create 2 complete number lines out of 1. In the second cut, we shifted our cutting action 90 degrees to create equidistant halves within each of our 2 lines. By shifting this binary pattern 90 degrees, we created 4 distinct qualities within our major icons, and in doing so created a pattern of extremes and in-betweens. As we proceed to the final cut, we will see how this pattern reveals an important relationship between the major icons and the minor suits. In describing this relationship, we will come to view the majors as parents of the minors, and the minors as the children of the majors, thus establishing a relationship of 2 cards in the 36 minors for every 1 card in the 18 majors, like so. The next cut we make is to cut both the positive and negative number lines horizontally, right through each active and passive side. By moving on to cut 3 of our deck design, we differentiate between analytical ideas versus synthetical ideas, our tangible quantitative ideas versus intangible qualitative ideas. In doing so, we duplicate the binary qualities of extremes and in-betweens within each half of the now divided majors, creating 4 distinctly different, but still interdependent number lines in our deck design structure. These 4 number lines are now thought of as minor to the majors, but obviously, cut from the same cloth. Historically, it is theorized that the 22 trumps of tarot were added to existing decks as an additional suit of trumps. Historically, it is surmised that these 2 decks had no relationship to each other in their initial creation, but were in fact brought together as an afterthought, to try and make a new kind of game, or make an existing game more interesting. History is interesting, but in inventing a new paradigm for tarot design, the numerical tarot chooses to invent a path of thought that clearly establishes an inexorable and very intimate relationship between major icons and minor suits. It is felt that this very deliberate relationship is more profound than the ad hoc relationship established by adding a suit of 22 cards to a deck with suits of 10 cards each. With this third cut, we observe how analytical versus holistic perceptions divide our positive and negative paths into finer and finer subdivisions of opposites. In following this evolutionary path of subdividing opposites, we see how each set of number lines in the minors, either the 2 from the positive side, or the 2 from the negative side, has the same attributes for each of its 2 lines, rather than creating 4 different attributes for 4 different lines, as is done in so many other traditional occult tarot decks, where the suits are associated to the worlds of Kabbalah. Because each set of minor suits is being cut from one half of the majors, each set of the minors will have a number line that represents either the analytical or the holistic in perception, in either a positive, ameliorate vein or a negative, deteriorate vein. We can now see how each set of the minors represents both physical features or conscious thought, as well as non-physical features or unconscious thought, with the same range of active and passive numbers. And because this third division has been faithfully cut from the previous 2, it also carries on their attributes within its form. Therefore, in conclusion, we see how each set of the minor suits, either the 2 positive lines or the 2 negative lines, will represent the analytical or holistic, in either a positive or negative vein, with equidistant, active or passive similarities in each line. By viewing the minor suits as children of the majors, the minor suits repeat important ideas with greater specificity, that is, 2 cards worth of detail in the minors for any concept instead of just 1 from the majors. With only 3 cuts, we have gone from a blank number line to an elaborate system of coordinates that will tell us something significant about how each card relates to the binary universe it hopes to describe. We have also established an intimate relationship between major icons and minor suits that is not really seen in any other deck design out there today. In the last step of this deck design, I choose to label the 4 suits of the minors with the 4 operations of mathematics, and then associate those operations of mathematics with the 4 suit signs of traditional tarot decks. In creating suit signs for the numerical tarot, I decided that the 4 operations of mathematics describe the subdivisions of the deck more clearly than representations found in traditional decks. In this arrangement, addition is considered a more analytical process of augmentation, while multiplication requires more holistic, conceptual leaps of thought. Both belong on the positive or ameliorate side of our established matrix of interdependent binary influences. Likewise, subtraction is also the more analytical, being the diametrical opposite of addition, while division again requires conceptual leaps. Both belonging on the negative or deteriorate side of our established matrix of interdependent binary influences. But how, one might ask, do the existing suits of traditional tarot come to be associated with each of these mathematical concepts? The short answer is, it doesn't matter. One can attempt to see correlations between this new paradigm and tradition, or not. This new paradigm stands alone. But, if making comparisons are desired, my suggestion would be to associate the suit of coins with addition, the suit of cups with multiplication, the suit of staves with subtraction, and the suit of swords with division. Likewise, I would suggest associating the suit of diamonds with addition, the suit of hearts with multiplication, the suit of clubs with subtraction, and the suit of spades with division. This arrangement of suit signs is interesting to use when viewing existing decks, but it is not important to the creation of the binary matrix just described. The binary matrix does not care if we relate the suit of addition to the suit of swords or cups or whatever. In the designing of the numerical tarot deck, the subdividing of numerology into a system of interrelated ideas is what's important. If, however, we do choose to relate the suit of addition to the suit of swords, we will probably not see very many correlations between this system and existing tarot decks. However, if we accept the arrangement described here, where we associate swords to division and spades, we will. So, if comparing the Rider-Waite-Smith deck to the numerical tarot deck is desired, try looking at the Rider-Waite-Smith deck through these numerical tarot eyes, rather than looking at the numerical tarot through Rider-Waite-Smith eyes, and see if you can see the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot differently. You may end up wishing the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot, and all of its many clones, could be changed to fit this new paradigm better than they do. If you are an artist, do that. Draw a deck that uses as many of the existing images of the Rider-Waite-Smith as possible, while changing those few cards that don't fit this new template into something that does. A collaboration would be welcome. Write to me. Links below. Here's what to look for when comparing the Rider-Waite-Smith deck to the numerical tarot deck. A. Equidistant similarities. With the major arcana altered into 2 rows of 9, with 4 left over, and the 10s of the minor arcana removed, try looking for symmetry between the left and right side of each row of 9. Look at the 2 and 8 of swords. Consider the similarities between the magician and the hermit. Consider the similarities between the hanged man and the tower. B. Life and death opposites. With the major arcana altered into 2 rows of 9, try to think of the 2 rows as positive and negative paths of a life and death cycle. Try to step away from putting a positive spin on every single card. Look for positive and negative similarities between cards of the same number, where 2-digit numbers are reduced to 1. Look at the lovers, a 6, and the devil, also a 6. Try to also think of the minor arcana as 2 rows of positive cards, and 2 rows of negative cards, just like the early playing card decks that came before tarot. Then, look for each row of cards to be consistently positive or negative all the way across. Take note of when and where the Rider-Waite-Smith deck is not consistently positive or negative all the way across a suit. C. Parent-to-child relationships. With the majors and minors both reduced to individual rows of 9, and both seen as positive and negative, try viewing the positive and negative cards of the majors as parents to the positive and negative cards of the minors, which would then be the children of those major parents. That is, 2 children in the minors for every 1 parent in the majors. Look at Justice and the 2 of Swords. Look at the Empress and the 3 of Cups, versus the Hanged Man and the 3 of Swords. Look at strength and the 8 of coins versus the star and the 8 of staves. D. Left brain or right brain perceptions. With the minors as 2 rows positive and 2 rows negative, try viewing the suit of coins and staves as more physical, conscious or left-brained analytical, and the suits of cup and swords as more emotional, subconscious or right-brained holistic. Try viewing coins and staves as something happening, and cups and swords as the emotional equivalent across positive and negative possibilities. Then, try making comparisons between cards of the same number in what are now opposing suits of coins versus staves and cups versus swords. Look at the 3 of cups versus the 3 of swords. Look at the 2 of cups versus the 2 of swords. Look at the 8 of coins versus the 8 of staves. Look at the 2 of coins versus the 2 of staves. Look at the 9 of coins versus the 9 of staves. E. A 4x1 array. With the majors split into 2 rows of 9, with 4 left over, try to think of those last 4 as a quaternary, representing the 4 stages of the theoretical model of existence upon which the numerical tarot is based, or any number of other sacred quaternaries from other systems of belief. Think of these 4 as the parents of the major arcana, where the first 4 or last 4 cards of either row of 9 correspond to these 4 quaternary cards. Compare the World to the Hermit. Compare the Sun to the Empress. Compare Judgment to Strength. F. A 4x4 array. With everything being thought of as rows of 9 or a quaternary of 4, try viewing the court cards as a row of 9 that has been folded at the number 5, so that the numbers 1, 2, 3 and 4 are crossed like a grid against the numbers 6, 7, 8 and 9. Superimpose the 1, 2, 3 and 4 of each suit, a 4x4 grid, over the 4x4 grid of the court cards. Then, take the 6, 7, 8 and 9 of each suit, another 4x4 grid, turn that grid 90 degrees clockwise and superimpose that as well. Look for these combined hybrid influences in the character of each court card icon. Buy the book All Things Are Numbers mentioned at the beginning of this video to see a full comparison analysis between these two decks. Links below. We have just created a matrix of interconnected ideas by subdividing an abstract representation of a single number line into multiple variations of binary influence. The beauty of this matrix design is how it pulls all cards of the tarot deck together into a system, rather than leaving each card to be examined as if it were created independently of all the others, or created by the happenstance outcome of a less than satisfactory syncretism between unrelated systems that were never meant to be combined, as traditional forms of tarot do. Unlike traditional tarot, in the numerical tarot deck, no card stands alone. Each card has a binary relative on the matrix to relate to, be it a mother, a father, a sister, a brother. This matrix helps us sort out this family tree of overlapping yins and yangs in a sensible manner. Again, this is particularly useful when examining the minor suits. When we line up the number lines of the minors, we find that there are in fact 4 cards to examine for any one number on the number line, 1 for each suit. The numerical tarot matrix is an amazing tool of decipherment, both to tarot and language itself. Of course, the matrix works only because of our unique arrangement of suits into that of binary opposites. So far we have already given more than one sensible explanation for our chosen arrangement of traditional suits. Now, as we begin to use this matrix, we will see how this arrangement, and only this arrangement, allows for enlightening comparisons to be made between cards of similar, or equidistant, or opposite pairs. Also, note, this system does not impose any good or bad bias on any card. What it does do is provide us with all kinds of ways of looking at a card before we ever examine its intended meaning. But most importantly, we have a consistent thought process uniting all the cards of each suit, so that when we go to illustrate them, we will see each card as part of a set of cards and not a jumble of random ideas. This will, hopefully, inspire us to illustrate each card in each suit with the same, consistent sense of ameliorate or deteriorate bias, or the same, consistent sense of positive or negative bias, or if you wish, the same good or bad bias. This is how the numerical tarot, and every other deck I ever have or will draw is constructed. By presenting a more predictable structure, the decks in this study harken back to the days of pre-occult tarot, when the greatest influence was the regular playing cards that preceded tarot itself, playing card decks with an appearance much like the playing card decks of today, with 2 suits red, are positive and 2 suits black, or negative. Arthur Edward Waite called his tarot deck a rectified tarot. What that actually meant was rectified to be what he thought tarot should be. That's what the competing occultist of his day did. They looked for ways to outdo each other in their alleged knowledge of what tarot actually is. But to me, to really rectify tarot, one should return to its roots. I see those roots going back to the days of early decks where a logical array of opposing suits would be used in the playing of games designed to pit sides or teams against each other in a contest of some kind. To abandon, or mess up the beauty of such a simple design by imposing historically unrelated systems of belief upon it is disappointing to me. But that's what we all do with tarot. Lots of people have imposed various belief systems upon tarot. The numerical tarot is no different in that regard. Respect for the playing card roots of tarot is one way of rectifying tarot. But there are other aspects to the approach taken here that many will consider to be a violation of historical tarot, or even regular playing card forms. That's okay, because this study is not really attempting to rectify anything. This study is an entity unto itself that answers to no one, and does not attempt to faithfully reproduce any other system of thought. Coincidences to other forms of thought are just that. Use them as they seem fit. What is offered is an alternative that I hope will be viewed as a welcome relief from the monopoly of influence and stranglehold of thought that decks like Rider-Waite-Smith and all its clones perpetuate. Oh, and by the way, because this approach uses balance, symmetry, contrast and consistency in its design, it is in many ways much more compatible with the form of common ordinary playing cards, which means that all the ideas and all the character given to each card can be translated over, with ease, to any playing card deck. Think about that. Ordinary playing cards are much more common in the world than tarot decks. Almost everyone on the planet has a regular playing card deck somewhere in easy reach. Even soldiers in foxholes had a deck of common playing cards. They are not usually considered to be the devil's pasteboards, the way tarot decks often are. So being able to apply all the ideas and character traits of the numerical tarot to any common ordinary playing card deck makes this approach to tarot much more versatile than most tarot decks out there, probably all really. You can apply the ideas of traditional tarot to ordinary playing cards, but that would cause the stark divisions between suits to be incompatible with the lack of balance, symmetry, contrast and consistency that is found in traditional decks. The numerical tarot does not have this problem. Oh, wait. One more thing. The approach being used in this study of tarot is distinctly not based on ideas from the world of the occult. That is an important feature. It's important, because a lot of people don't like tarot because of its associations to the occult. It's also important because of what happens when someone attempts to enter the world of the occult. They are often warned that the knowledge they are attempting to obtain is incredibly powerful and not to be toyed with by those with superficial interest. Occultists try to hype up the importance of their claims of empowerment by making the occult sound like a loaded gun that shouldn't be waved around and played with. They tell stories of people going insane because of the revelations found in occult studies, and people's psychological inability to cope with mind-blowing information. This approach to tarot is not like that. This approach to tarot is simple, straightforward, easy to learn and easy to use, and safe for kids. You might be amazed by what you learn, but I doubt that there is any threat of making you go insane. You might also be empowered by what you learn, but I don't think that comparisons to a loaded gun are necessary. Have fun. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching. Hope it made sense. Sorry it was such a long one. As always, links below for 3 tarot decks, 2 ebooks and merchandise that can be purchased. And, if anyone wants to collaborate on drawing a deck that uses this system, do not hesitate to contact me.